Hey guys,
I'm Jerry.
I'm Sierra.
We're ladies.
And we tangent. He's like, I didn't want to know back then the animals died. And I was like, no.
Yeah, but you're so much more like empathetic. Like,
so he goes,
when would have been a good time to tell you that animals died?
So then he goes, well, okay, Mom, I'm just telling you that when I have children of my own, this is my son. When I have children of my own, I'm going to tell them that they just went to a better place. And you better not say it. I was like, okay, I'll let you parent how you want to parent. We'll see if you still feel like that.
Yeah.
How rude.
Yeah. Well, those of you who missed the beginning of this story, Noah's mad that Sierra didn't lie to him 4 years ago.
Are we starting?
That was I don't know. I thought that was a good story to include, but we don't have to.
So I had a kitten that passed away. First of all, he said, why didn't you warn me? And I was like, I didn't know she was going to die.
No one has like that much of a heads up.
And she was a rescue kitten. So, I mean, I guess that I should have known there was a possibility.
A risk.
And she was also like.
Sierra's a history of rescuing kittens.
I love rescuing animals. It's just the best.
That meme of.
She was the only one that passed away.
Oh,
I will say that.
The meme of the Tarzan.
I'm your mother now.
Yeah, I'm its mother now. That's Sierra with kittens.
Yes. Seriously.
We have a lot of stray cats around here.
Yeah. And if I don't know, I have a soft spot for cats because I feel like cats get the shaft. Everybody loves a dog, but I feel like people see stray cats and they're like, ugh.
Yeah.
And so I want to be like, I'll take you in. Anyways, it died, and then Noah was upset with me because
you told him
that it died. Well, I thought that was the best thing to do. I was like, and I said that it went to heaven, even though I'm not even sure if I believe in that.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is going to soften the blow. The cat's in a better place. Blah, blah, blah. And he was like, just really wish you would have told me it went like to a farm or something. And I was like, okay, well, next time an animal dies, I'll lie to you.
Well, I know that Shane's parents said that to him.
They said, my parents said it to me and it devastated me when I found out.
Yeah, same thing, because Shane was like, why can't we just get it back then? Mm-hmm. Like it leaves the ambiguity that like the animal's still there or something.
Well, that's what I want to be like, no, I don't think you remember yourself 4 years ago, but you would not just have let it go. If I would have said it went somewhere, you would have been very angry at me.
Yeah. I understand now emotionally you're kind of aware, but you'll thank me later. Okay.
Yeah. He's just that kind of kid. I love him, but good.
Hey, this is future Jerry and Sierra. Like literally almost half an hour into this. We just want to give a heads up that some really intense things are going to be discussed. Assault, emotional abuse, toxic relationships. So if these are topics that are triggering for you, please skip this episode. Do what you need to do for your mental health. We always want to prioritize your health and well-being over our content. So we just wanted to give a heads up before we go any further with this. Yeah. So, okay. We did just start hot and heavy there. We never even went, what's up, everyone? Hello.
Sorry for some,
Shane wanted
talk.
Sorry about that.
Early on your Tuesday morning.
Shane wanted us to do an intro so he could get our levels, and Sierra started telling me that story. Yeah. And then he just like turned on the camera and walked away, which now I hope I never got to see it.
Do you want to check?
No, I'm sure it's fine. I trust my husband.
Are you sure?
I trust my husband. So we just posted a TikTok, and I don't know what this says, but Chicken My Wings made a comment, and it's like 5 comments long. Chicken My Wings. I don't know if you're a listener or not, or if you just found us on TikTok and you're just a follower there. But this seems like an intense story that I just wanted to read now to you.
Okay.
I only read the first sentence, and it says, in 5th grade, I was in a portable toilet.
Okay.
That's all I read.
Okay, let's hear it.
And I felt like I should just read the rest right now.
Yes.
Okay, in 5th grade, I was in a portable toilet, and someone knocks, and I scream, who is it? And the kid responds their name. I panic and go, I think you have the wrong person. And he goes, oh, I think I know who you are. And I hear a woman say something, and he goes, Mom, I know her. I'm like holding back tears, and it goes silent. And I hear, I'm going back to the bleachers, as if he wants me to come out and find him. And I'm still traumatized by this experience. What a strange interaction.
So, did she know the boy?
I don't know. Chicken My Wings never elaborated. I didn't even know what TikTok this was on because I just saw a comment popped up and I clicked on it because it had like 4 things under it. And I'm like, this is a story. But now I realize it's on the TikTok where we were talking about what you say when people knock on the door.
Hello.
Yeah. And apparently someone acted like they were looking for her.
That's so weird.
So weird. Anyway.
It's funny.
Yeah. So.
What's up with you?
Just living the dream. I meant to tell you something and I totally forgot. So when I went to Michigan, we had that little bit of a family vacation before where we like stayed 2 days at the beach, and I had a swimsuit. And I haven't gone like intentionally swimsuit shopping because I've been pregnant for like 4 years straight.
Sure.
So I've had just like the same maternity swimsuit that I just wore over and over again. Well, this year I am like trying to embrace my body.
Yep.
And I bought a pair of high-waisted bottoms, and I was like,
those.
it was like kind of high cut too.
Yeah.
So I felt like it was trendy, but like also was gonna kind of mask my insecurity because like I told you, my bag I'm not super comfortable with.
I feel that.
Like there's a part of my stomach like where crop tops hit that I'm fine with.
Yep.
And then like when I have my underwear on, I'm even fine. But there's just like a little line where like Forrest sat.
Yep.
That I'm like, that's now a hammock. Okay. That's what it looks like.
I feel that.
So that I'm insecure about my hammock. So the high-waisted bottoms cover it.
They're so good. I love them.
So I went to Target because we're the type of people, and by we I mean me.
Like, who's we in this situation?
I don't plan well.
Oh, well, then we.
Yeah. But while we go to the lake, we literally go to Michigan knowing that we're going to go to the lake.
You didn't bring a swimsuit?
No, I brought the swimsuit, but we didn't bring towels. We didn't even bring like life jackets for the kids.
I've done that before when I went to the beach. I was like, well, I know I'm going to get halfway there and be like, I'm missing something. And then I checked like 14 times. I even overpacked.
Yep.
And then halfway to the beach, I went, fucking beach towels.
Left everything. Okay.
Yeah.
So I decided to go to Target to get some essentials for us. And while I'm there, I go to the swimsuit section, and this Target had just opened. Like it barely, some of the aisles had nothing in it.
Okay.
But it did have a few suits. And so I found these bottoms that, now that I think about it, I don't know why I purchased them, but I thought that they were high cut. So I thought, okay, they're going to come up high enough to hide my hammock.
Yeah.
But they were like tied on the side. They were going to be like very Baywatchy, like high on my hip. And I'm like, okay, I'm into that.
Yeah.
As long as you hide my fucking hammock.
That's the only part I don't want people to see.
I realize I have a problem at looking at a piece of clothing and thinking it's going to do something different on my body than it actually is. I put this swimsuit on and I was like, oh my God, I might as well be naked.
For real?
Yeah. And then I have this other problem where instead of just being like, you know what, I'll cut my losses, I am like, you've made your bed, lie in it. And so I wore it. I was basically wearing a thong to this Michigan
children.
Yes. Which is why the sand flies was such a nuisance to me, because basically my labia was in the sand.
What are sand flies?
They're flies but they bite.
Oh.
Like bite. They hurt.
No. Are
Yeah.
they in the sand or just around it?
Around the sand. Yeah.
And this is like for lakes?
I don't know. I know that it's at that lake, but it's like the I don't know if they're called sand flies. We called them sand flies. Yeah. But they're like the flies that are on like horses or like buffalo where
Horse
you like see their Yeah.
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 Oh my God. Ouchie.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well,
Also, I had another thing happen at a wedding that I wanted to tell you.
Okay.
So I was taking photos. Remember how we started one episode off with a gross guy story?
Yeah.
Here's another gross guy story.
Yay.
I was taking photos. By the way, I do not tell stories from weddings immediately after they happen because I want to give time
to whoever's wedding it was.
Yeah, so that people can't figure out what wedding it was.
Yep, that's smart.
Because a lot of weddings have cake.
Yep.
Okay, this wedding had cake. So they had a whole cake table with cupcakes and stuff. And I am taking photos of the dessert table. And this man is standing behind me and he's just standing there. And I said, "Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Did you want to grab something? You can go ahead and grab whatever. Like I'll frame it so you can't tell the stuff's missing." And he goes, "Well, I'm trying to figure out what looks best, you or the cupcakes."
No.
And I was like, and
I'm doing a job.
oh, and then he said the thing that you love for men to say, and that's,
"Why don't you smile more?"
yep.
Hold on. Let me just punch something real quick.
Yeah. He goes, "What do you think about that? You should smile more." What do you think about that? Try to figure out what looks better, you or the cupcakes. What do you think about that? You should smile more. I think I'm about to freaking castrate you. That's what I think.
God, that makes me want to. Do you ever say that to men? I think I'm going to start.
That I'm going to castrate them, or that they should smile more?
Both. But yeah, I think I'm just going to start my own little social experiment and see how irate they get. If I'm like, you know what? You should really smile more.
Yeah. Why do you look so sad?
Yeah. I used to get that at my job as a server.
I don't want to give them any more reason to talk to me.
No. Well, yeah, good point. I used to, as a server and a bartender. And by the way, if you've ever served or bartended, you have to be nice to your tables. But like when you're running in between, I'm not going to fucking walk around with a smile on my face like I'm a lunatic. Like, and I'm also not happy to be there.
Well,
like, let's be real.
Even at weddings, like, I enjoy my job, but
you're focused. You're in work mode.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting here smiling like,
there's 1,000 moving parts that I have to be aware of. And like the DJ at that wedding, he kept getting on the microphone and saying, "We need Jerry to the head table. Can Jerry come to the head table? We're going to do speeches." I'm literally standing at the head table and I'm like looking at the bride going, "Why the fuck is he saying my name and calling me here? I'm already present." It just made me feel like I wasn't doing my job when I'm like, "Hey buddy, I've been here.
You're not doing your job because you're not paying attention."
I knew the order of events and I'm one step ahead of you, boy.
Oh my goodness. Can I tell you, for the people who are like, "Oh, well, then how are men even supposed to talk to you?" First of all, don't. But second of all,
don't.
If you want to have like some kind of an interaction with a woman, if you want to compliment her, let me tell you how someone did it right. When I was in Myrtle Beach, we were at a buffet area. It was very nice. Everybody had gloves and masks on. I was like, this is what we should be doing.
Yes.
Probably everywhere.
Yeah.
But anyways, there was an older man, I want to say probably 60s, and he was beside me and he saw my belly. Now, I had no makeup on or anything. I had like just come from the beach and we were at kind of a nice place, but I really wanted all you can eat crab legs.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't care. We're going here. And he was like, come here. You get in front of me. It was at the chocolate fondue stage. I had already eaten all my crab legs and wanted dessert. Yeah. And he goes, she looks like, or he said something like,
she looks like she needs
chocolate. Well, he said something like, get out of the way, she needs chocolate or something. Like, it's a joke. And I laughed at it because I knew he wasn't being mean.
Yeah.
And then he goes, I'm not trying to be weird, but you know, they say pregnant women glow. You're really glowing.
That's so kind.
And that was it. And then he never spoke to me again. He said it, turned around, back to his wife who was standing right there, and then
he didn't say away. Like, that whole baby thing is really working for you.
It's really doing it good, girl.
I'm trying to figure out what's more delicious, you or that fondue.
I was like, fondant.
Yeah, Go
fuck yourself. But it was like a night. I was like, oh my God, the way that you just complimented me didn't make me feel creepy at all.
Right.
And it wasn't even the words, because I wish you guys could have seen the interaction. It's so much more than the words that they say. It's like how close they're standing to you.
Yes, that man was right behind me.
I could already tell.
And he touched my shoulder.
Of course he did.
Like, ha ha ha, you should think this is funny. How do you feel about what I'm doing to you right now? I was like, I feel like this is a breach of my contract. And I'd like to go home.
Oh, God.
It is such an uncomfortable situation for it to happen at a wedding, and it happens often. Like, I was at another wedding.
Your job, because you don't want to break. I feel like we're all in character when we're in work mode. You don't want to break character, but you also want to be like, "Are you kidding me?"
Well,
I'm trying to work.
This is a place where I'm working for a client, and everyone there is loved by the client.
Exactly.
So, like, it's a really strange thing, because yes, they hired me, but at the end of the day, I'm a vendor, and I hope that they would trust me to know that, like, if I'm uncomfortable with the situation, it's because it was a bad situation and not because I'm just, I don't know, whatever.
Right.
But if they love this person and I'm like, this person is making me feel uncomfortable, whose side are they? I don't know whose side they're going to be on. It's just such an uncomfortable place to be. Like, there was a guy following me around at a wedding and he kept fanning me.
No.
First of all, in these times, don't follow me around.
Yeah.
Give me space.
In these times, in all times.
Yeah.
Quit following people, you fucking, we're not ducks.
Well, I know that they're drunk.
Yeah.
I know that he was drunk.
Oh God, drunk people.
But
are the
he was
worst.
fanning me, and he just kept telling everyone, he goes, I'm fanning the photographer. I'm fanning the photographer. And I'm
Like
the photographer doesn't want to be fanned.
Like he thought he was being so funny. Like,
Yes.
everybody, look how quirky and funny I'm
And then he
being.
kept telling everyone that he taught me everything I knew. And
I
he's
hate
like, I taught her how to do this. She learned everything from me. And I'm like, no, I fucking didn't. I don't know who you are.
See, now, if you knew him, I feel like that could be a funny exchange.
Yeah.
But you're a stranger.
You're a literal stranger and you keep coming up and fanning me with something and I don't know who you are or
Yes.
why you're so close to me.
Really sets a fire in my fucking uterus.
Well, and it's like, we've talked about before the whole not all men thing, but I don't know you.
Yeah.
And my trauma, which
Yep.
is in there, that I have had negative experiences with multiple men
Yep.
over my entire life, makes me unsettled with you. I was
Yes.
reading, remember when I told you guys I was reading the book, What Happened to You? When I read things, I read slowly, like real slowly, like 2 paragraphs in a day and then not again for 3 weeks. So I was reading something today and they were talking about generational trauma.
Uh-huh.
And one of the things they were talking about was a fear of dogs and how there are some people.
I was going to use this analogy.
You were?
Yes.
They were talking about how people who've never even had a negative interaction with a dog could have a fear of a dog.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in POC communities, dogs were used
Yes.
against Black people
Yes.
forever.
Yes.
One, to hunt them during slavery.
Yep.
And then during protests, they were used
Yep.
as attack dogs. So like, even if you didn't have a negative experience, if a child's parent
Mm-hmm.
had a negative experience, let's say like during the civil rights movement, they might, when they see a dog, like squeeze your hand a little bit
Yes.
tighter. And now you learn that's a fear response.
Yes.
Now I'm afraid of that dog. And that's how it can go down a generation.
Not to mention, I just learned this in my child psychology class, but I don't know if you can put it at the same, like,
Mhm.
obviously the fetus wouldn't know, but there are certain things. So if like you hear a dog barking
Yeah.
and then the mother's body releases that
Oh.
hormone, that cortisol, which is
Mhm.
a stress hormone, and the fetus will
Feel it. Yeah.
and hear it and then respond to that outside of the room and release those.
Got it.
Isn't
Yeah.
that crazy?
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, go on.
Yeah. I have a fear of men
Yes.
because of my past experiences.
Yes.
It's innate in me. It lives in me. And
Yep.
so my body all the time, sorry, you have to prove to me that you're not a scary person.
Yeah, I mean, and you should. I
Right.
feel like all of them should know that some.
I'm not saying I'm going to be a bitch to you. I'm not saying
No.
I'm going to like not want to be in a space with you, but I am on alert. I am like hyper aware.
And if you're following me, that's a problem.
Yes,
I don't
because
care how like, oh, this guy, he's such a jokester. I don't know you.
and
don't
I
know
had
that
to walk
about
to
you.
my car by myself in the dark. So I'm like, yeah, someone who's funny. The guy who assaulted me was funny all night until he wasn't. You know what I mean?
Say literally, that's the thing too about people who have been assaulted or like a lot of times it switches like that.
Yep.
That's what's so scary about it. Wow, this is going to lead really well into the
Yeah.
topic that we're going to talk about, but it's like that Jekyll Hyde situation, and that's why we are on high alert. Even if you seem like you're joking, even if you seem like you're being funny, because 9 times out of 10, the trauma that we've endured, it started out that way,
Right.
and then it switched quickly,
Yeah.
and not in enough time for us to be able to get away.
Right.
So,
Yeah. The topic that we're doing today is trauma bonding and love bombing.
yeah. Well, mostly trauma bonding.
Yeah.
Love bombing is actually stage 1 of there's like 7 stages to develop a trauma bond. So yes, it's going to be a little bit of both.
We'll
Yep.
talk about it. So, yeah, that's what we're talking about today. I didn't necessarily know that was going to be a transition into it, but
It really worked out well.
there we love a segue,
Love a
don't we? I feel anxious.
Did I
now.
ever say did I ever ask about the segues? Aren't those the thing they're like,
Yeah.
Okay.
You did. Still a question.
Did we ever answer that?
I don't know if they're still a thing or not.
Okay.
Okay.
Every time you say it, I'm like, okay.
Okay.
So the book I'm going to be using is called Trauma Bonding, Understanding and Overcoming the Trauma Bond in a Narcissistic Relationship. It is written by Lauren Kozlowski,
Mm-hmm.
and she's written a lot of books like this. I'm not 100% if she is has a degree in any kind of. She was in a very abusive relationship, and she's been.
So she's writing more from her experience,
yes,
and potentially
but
we don't know her education background.
But she does talk about that she's led support groups and things like this. So she does have like a background in this. And
I do want to say again before we get started that like if you have narcissistic personality disorder, like obviously every disorder can have its really tough traits.
Yeah.
And we don't ever want to further stigmatize some of these disorders that have like a really negative connotation. So unfortunately, NPD does sometimes lend itself to really terrible things.
Yeah.
But we do want to say that like just because someone is diagnosed with this doesn't mean that they're a bad person, doesn't mean,
and also you can develop a trauma bond with anybody, not just with somebody who has a narcissistic personality disorder. And an abusive relationship can be with anybody. You don't have to be a narcissist or any, so
I always just want to like
to say.
Mention it because I know that narcissists are so like, it's such like a buzzword now that I always want to just take a minute to like mention it because I wouldn't ever want to villainize any mental disorder or diagnosis just because if we're trying to destigmatize everything, we need to destigmatize everything.
Agreed.
And so anyway, okay.
Yes. So again, I'm just going to focus on the trauma bonding, not the other part. She writes about that because she has a series of books focusing on that because that's the relationship that she was in with her spouse. Again, if you want to feel free to read them. I did double check with like actual psychologists on everything that she says science wise, and it all is correct.
Checks out.
So I wanted to make sure that I'm like, am I just reading like a woo woo book? No.
Yeah. We love a woo woo book as well, though.
But I like to double check to make sure how woo are we? Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're gonna start out to see if this is the right. If any of these questions that I'm about to ask you, or not even questions, I think they're more so just like if you exhibit these behaviors, this topic might be right for you. So number 1, you know that your partner or ex is abusive and manipulative, but you can't seem to be able to let go of them. You give a lot of thought to the many incidents of abuse you've endured. You engage in bouts of self-blame, and the abuser is the negotiator of your self-esteem and self-worth. Despite the pain and hurt they make you feel, letting go isn't something you feel capable of. By the way, I just want to say early, you're going to hear this a lot. That is so normal. Like, I see so many times on our Fanjits page, people being like, I can't let this person go. My ex, he was a terrible person. I still think about him all the time. I feel so guilty. I hope that this helps you release some of that guilt and shame that you feel because that is such a normal feeling. And there is literally a science and a chemical reason behind it. That's the reason why we wanted to talk about this.
Sorry.
I know.
I know.
I know.
It's really weird.
Heavy.
But yes, I am getting emotional because like, even though it's been 12 years since I've been out of my toxic relationship, like it's still I still invalidate myself that it was a toxic relationship.
Oh, I know.
And so when you ask these questions, it's like I'm being validated in a way that I've never, because I haven't even, we've had way too many things, Barbara and I, to talk about that we've not even discussed my toxic relationship.
Yeah. Well, mine was such a big part of my life as well, but there's still so much that I feel like guilty about, or I cried the whole time I read this.
Yeah.
And I read it twice.
Yeah.
So I cried both times.
Just like to hurt yourself?
I did. Well, I wanted to really understand it, but also I like to make sure ADHD, but sometimes I miss things. I read too quickly and I just skim. That's like my brain goes on autopilot, but I will get it. But then the second time through, I'm like, well, I missed that whole fucking paragraph the first time. Okay. Number 2, you often walk on eggshells in an attempt to try to appease or please your abuser, despite the fact that they give you very little in return. Apart from perhaps a few crumbs of affection, you find tiptoeing around them is something you have to do in order to keep the peace for your search for normalcy. You feel like you're addicted to them. You seek out their validation and approval, and you feel like you need this from them, as if it acts as a source of comfort for you. Their approval is a shelter of comfort, particularly after incidents of abuse. This indicates a strong psychological attachment to the abuser.
I can feel if my chest gets like very red and splotchy.
Understandable.
Did we mention that this is probably not just for romantic relationships?
That's important to say too. It could be a friendship, it could be a parent relationship, sibling relationship.
Yeah.
Coworker.
Yep.
Boss type of yes. You find that you defend your abuser and keep their wicked side a secret from others. You might have been in a situation where you've refused to press charges against your abuser, or you've defended them against those who tried. Sorry, this one's hard for me. Or you've defended them against those who tried to tell you that they're toxic. In all likelihood, you perhaps even prevent your relationship as a happy one to your peers and family, attempting to minimize their abusive tendencies. You may also find that you exaggerate any positive behaviors they offer out occasionally in an attempt to show your abuser in their best light. Should you attempt to leave the abuser, you find that you always give in to the abuser's fake remorse, their pitiful crocodile tears, and their promises to change in the future. Despite the pattern of abuse and its toxic cycle being clearly evident, you grasp onto misplaced hopes that things might eventually get better. I also want to say, statistically, it takes a victim 7 tries to permanently leave an abusive situation. This is a big reason why. And also resources. Like, I never want to shame people for going back to their abusers. It took me so many times of leaving to finally get away for good. I mean, years worth.
Right.
So I want people to keep that in mind too. You're not a failure if you go back. It's understandable. And that doesn't mean that you won't eventually get out.
Right.
You may have developed some self-sabotaging behaviors and could engage in some forms of self-harm to dissociate yourself from the pain of your abuse. You may also find that you're prone to engaging in other self-sabotaging behaviors, such as heavy drinking or taking drugs, and this is often to mask the profound sense of shame caused by the abuse. You are prepared to lower your standards for this toxic person. You accept what you previously believed was unacceptable. This happens time after time, and you may find that as the abuse continues, you accept more horrific and damaging abuse each time. You change your behavior and personality in an attempt to meet the abuser's ever-moving goalposts. This is something that abusers do very often to keep you on your toes. It's always not good enough, not good enough, not good enough, and then they do this on purpose. Despite the fact that the abuser rarely, if ever, changes their behavior to please you. So, if any of those resonated with you,
right,
it's most likely because you have formed a trauma bond with somebody. So let's talk about what a trauma bond is.
I'll tell you, like, that was... thank you for taking the time to read that and go through it twice. And because I know that that's a very intense thing for you. It's, if you are listening to this and finding it hard to stay present, I feel you. I feel like some of the things, it was like when you were reading certain things, my mind was pulling memories immediately of moments where I, with multiple different people, felt like I was living in those experiences, and my fight or flight was triggered, and my body was like, I must go.
Yeah. I mean,
I must leave this conversation.
I can't be here right now.
Yeah.
Wasn't it like fight, flight, freeze, or there's one more? Fawn. Oh, God, I'm a fawner.
You are a fawner.
Oh, I can't help it.
You're a little deer.
I'm a little fawn. This is the part that gets me. This is the part I love, because there is a science behind why you are like this with this person. Because I want to say that for me, the most embarrassing part when I got into my relationship, and I want to say, first of all, abusive relationships never start out abusive.
No.
So we'll get to that with love bombing. But that always bothers me when I see, and I'm guilty of it too. I was, before I knew anything about anything. I would be like, why would she even stay? Or if it was so bad, like, you don't go out with a guy on a first date or a girl and they punch you right in the face and you're like, fuck, I want to spend 7 years with this person. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There is a reasoning behind why you stay with that person. And it's because for a very long time, they hid that side of themselves from you. So if you're not in an abusive relationship, if you are watching a loved one in an abusive relationship, please, I want you to keep that in mind when you think of things like, why would she? Why would she? Why would he? Whatever. There, number one, there's a science behind it. And number two, it's because it's a very long thing that's occurring that is creating this bond.
And this is tough too, because there's this idea that, I don't know how I want to say this. It's hard because people feel like being supportive of them means being present for them.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that you and I have talked about a lot, because people have romanticized our relationship during that time when it was really bad for you. And me being there for you actually meant that our relationship was really, really strained, to the point where we didn't speak for a year. We talked about in our first Q&A that we weren't always this close. And we've had people ask us like, well, how did Sierra get out? What did you do? And why aren't you as supportive of other people as you are of Sierra? My support for Sierra and people's support for me in getting out of my relationship didn't look like being present all the time.
No.
It is a lot to ask someone to stand next to you while you're trying to get out. I know that you need support. I know that the worst thing that you can do is be isolated, but in a way it's another toxic relationship.
Yes. And sometimes it helps to be isolated, because when I was isolated, and then that abuse would occur. I remember the last time it occurred, because every time it did, I always had someone to turn to be like, I would go and stay at my mom's house, or I would go and stay at a friend's house. I stayed with my friend Kristen like for 3 days after the one that was really bad. Eventually those people stop being there for you. And so the last time that it happens and you realize you have nowhere to go, that was a point for me where I was like, I have to get out or I'm not going to survive this. Like, eventually this is going to get so bad, and now I have nobody. And so that was the best thing that you could have done, that anyone could have done. It was nice because I knew that people still loved me, but they were like, I can't keep enabling what's going on. Now, I'm not saying that if somebody comes to you, obviously, please give them shelter. But if it's something like that,
well, and that was something I told you as well. Like when Shane and I were house hunting, I was trying to make sure I found somewhere that if she ever said to me, Jerry, I'm ready, I need somewhere to stay, that I could say, I have a place. But I couldn't. You weren't ready. You weren't ready, to be honest. You weren't ready. Like, and so you can't force someone to be ready, because it's also scary. You have to be prepared, and you can't force someone to be prepared. It's not your life. Like it wasn't my life. I couldn't say, Sierra, get out, because was I prepared to make sure you didn't fall flat on your face? Like, no, I couldn't do that for you.
Exactly.
So,
and a lot of these people are financially dependent on their abusers. There's a codependency level there that's deeper than the trauma bond, but the trauma bond is a big, big part of it. But just keep in mind, I don't know, there's so much, every situation is different, so I don't want to say like a one-size-fits-all thing, but if you're in an abusive relationship, understand that people don't really have to stick around and see you be in that. I mean, that sounds terrible, but
well, it's traumatic for them as well to see someone that they love
and they don't
feel helpless.
And they don't need to subject themselves to potentially being in the abuser's way as well.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you tell them that you're leaving and that's fine, but then you keep going back, and then this is what would happen to me. Every time I would go back, the person that he knew had helped me out that time, he would sabotage our relationship then. And I would let him, because I was in this stage of the bond where I was like, loving the attention that he was giving me because he won me back, quote unquote. And so I would be like, you know what? You're right. They are. Yeah. Whenever my mom does that stuff, it's because she doesn't love me and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? I just let him dig that wedge because at that point I didn't want to lose him so much that I didn't care what he did to any of my other relationships. And here's the scientific reason behind that. So from a biologic standpoint, the bonds we develop in life originate from an infant development, okay? Like our dependence on someone for our survival when we are an infant, that being like a primary caregiver or a parent, something like that. That survival is the primal foundation of human attachment. So when our safety is threatened by trauma or anything, naturally we want to turn to our caregiver. As we grow older, that person who offers support, provides protection, care, shifts from being our parents into being a spouse or a loved one, most likely. So when this type of bonding occurs, oxytocin is released in your brain. Oxytocin is what is released when you give birth, when you, sometimes when you're breastfeeding, when you have sex, things that bond you like that, that's oxytocin being released. So it's called the love hormone.
Well, I think it would also be very confusing for those of us who were spanked growing up because we were literally hit by our caregivers.
Yes.
And then told it was for our own good.
Yes.
And then we were made to love and forgive. They told us it was out of love, and then we were made to forgive them.
Yep.
And sometimes apologize ourselves for making them do it to us.
You made me hurt. You made me hurt you.
Right.
Yes.
If you would just do better, you wouldn't be hit.
Yeah. And so again, I'm not here to start a spanking debate, but that is why I will never. That's why I'll never hit my child, because you're teaching your child that the people that love them hit them,
right,
and that they're supposed to accept their forgiveness when they say I'm sorry,
and
if they ever do.
And I don't think that people think about that in the same way, because we want to think that there's a separation between it, but there's not.
And that children need trained like dogs,
right,
which is not correct. Also, don't hate your dogs. But, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like people are like, oh, I can train my child, so I'm doing that to train them. But you're not. That's not how that works.
And I know that was how people believed that you parented and how you created a respectful child. And so that's what was passed down generationally. Like, this is just what you do. I was spanked and I turned out fine. And so now I spank so that they'll turn out fine. Yeah. But it's just not how it works. And the line gets too blurry. And
very much so.
I feel like this is connected.
It is. So a lot of times then when the abuse occurs, we turn to the person who caused the abuse because they are our caregiver. And as humans, we have a tendency to try to make sense of our experiences. So we work exceptionally hard to rationalize the disharmony between our abusive partner's caring behavior and then their harmful actions to us. So the attempt that we do at rationalization strengthens that toxic bond, because abusive partners will promise to change, and then a lot of times they manipulate. Thank you.
Manipulatively?
Thank you.
Is that the word you were looking for?
That's it. We'll tend to the wounds that they created whenever we are the most. So
they cause the problem and then become the savior?
Yeah. So I'm going to tell a story.
Okay.
Real quick.
Okay.
To explain this. To give an example. I'm going to tell a story that I've never told, except to you.
I know it?
You know it.
Okay.
But not a lot of people know it because I lied a lot about it.
Okay.
But I think this is important. And also, I'm not afraid to tell it anymore.
Good.
So, the first time that something, quote unquote, physically abusive happened to me, it was an accident-ish. So, the person that I was with was super fucking drunk.
Yeah.
I was drinking that night as well. We'd all went to the bar. We'd all walked home. I was in my underwear and a tank top, and I was getting up to go to the bathroom. After we had just kind of been fighting, he was laying in bed beside me. His friend was sleeping downstairs on the couch. Now, in his mind, in his drunk state, for whatever reason, because I was in underwear and a tank top, he thought I was going downstairs to sleep with. Yeah. I was going to the bathroom, which was in the next hallway down. And he got irate and started yelling. And I was like, turned around to yell back. And at that time that I turned around, he grabbed what was on the nightstand, which was a big margarita glass, and flung it behind him, not looking. In his mind, what was supposed to happen was that it was going to smack against the wall and shatter and scare me into coming back to bed.
Which is already toxic.
It is. It is a manipulative, abusive thing to do.
Yes. There, it's still abuse.
Yes. Well,
it just got ramped up.
He missed the wall, and it hit me directly in the face, right here. Like, boom. It knocked me back, and I lost my vision for a while, and then blood started pouring out of my face, like hard. Because I was drinking. The cut wasn't even that big, but it's a pretty, whatever. He immediately switched gears. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. He started crying. Mm-hmm. He's cradling my head. Now at this point, he had been off and on cheating, and we were in like he was not being very nice to me. So this attention that he was giving me was the first little bit of what he had given me in the beginning. And I remember being like, oh my God, he's back. And he had just smashed my cheekbone. I mean, shattered it.
Yeah. You had a black eye.
Oh yeah. My eye was swollen shut for weeks.
Yeah.
I told people that I got into a car accident.
You told me that
I fell.
You told me that a glass bowl fell on your face. Because I remember the day I saw you when you had your black eye, mm-hmm. and I was upstairs in the bathroom with you. Shane was downstairs with Noah, I think. And I was like, what happened to your face? Mm-hmm. And you said, oh my gosh, I went to grab a glass bowl because I was drunk making macaroni and cheese, and it fell on my face. And this happened. And I was like, oh, that sounds like you. Yeah. And I remember getting in the car with Shane and going, how fucking dumb does she think that I am? Mm-hmm. How stupid does she think that I am?
Well, I don't know why I thought I couldn't find a good reason. So I ended up telling everybody a different story. And I think in the back of my mind that what I was doing was trying to get people to know the real thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was so committed to this person. Now, after he did this.
Because you didn't want people to, because in your mind, it was still an accident. Yeah, and so you didn't want that moment to taint people's view of him.
And he was so caring to me afterwards. He took off work for like a week, intended to me hand and foot. I mean, like nobody has before ever.
I think he was fucking scared.
Well, he for sure was. And he was doing this because he knew if I went to the hospital,
right,
that he was going to get in big fucking trouble. Mm-hmm. But this was all a part of the manipulation to have me stay, and oh my God, it's an accident, it'll never happen again. That was the first time. That was not the last time. That was not the worst time.
Right.
So
because now too, you feel responsible if he gets in trouble, even though his actions are the thing that would have gotten him in trouble.
Well, and here's the thing as well. At that point, I had lied to so many people that I cared about that if it came out, then he knew that I was so embarrassed because I lied to all these people, mm-hmm. that if he did it again, I wasn't going to fucking tell anybody, right, because then I would have to admit that I lied the first time.
Right.
And I didn't want to do that. My pride was too hurt.
Yeah.
And I just didn't want to do it. So then they will make sure that you're isolated. Obviously, that's what happened to me. Again, because I had to tell all these lies, I started just sheltering myself away because the web of lies I had created was too big to...
I can't
it's fucking stressful.
Any of these people in the same room.
No, it was so stressful. Yeah. And that's the other thing I don't get about him as a person. He was so such a good liar, and he lied to so many people all the time. And I want to be like, how are you not always in stress? That's why I truly do think he's got some... I know he has some kind of personality disorder, and I'm not saying that this specifically is a bad thing, and I won't even name which one he got diagnosed with, but the reason why I knew was because he was not fazed by that at all. If anything, that was like a level of excitement. For me, that is such a stressful, being in a situation where I'm lying to multiple people, right, with different stories. Oh my God.
Yeah, to him, it was like a game.
It was a game.
And if he was able to untie the knots that he had made, mm-hmm, it was like a thrill to him.
Yes. Yeah. So another thing that they do is they'll create these insecurities about us, about yourself, making you feel inferior to other women. making you feel like you were stupid when you tried to apply to jobs or go back to school, making you feel like anything that you wanted to do career-wise or for a hobby was like something dumb or childish or anything like that. But in the same breath, they would be the people that would comfort you over those insecurities. For me, he would constantly make me feel insecure around other women, slowly, and saying little things like, just about them in front, like to his friends, and then be like, why are you being so sensitive, blah, blah.
Yep.
But in the next breath, then when I would wear something super revealing, because that's what happened, the more I was around him, I'm not somebody who likes super tight revealing clothes.
Right.
But that's what he wanted. He wanted to show me off. So I started to do it because he would compliment me every time. Then I was suddenly like a prize. And it was just gross. It was
that's
gross.
shocking because mine was the opposite. He would make me feel inferior because he was habitually cheating on me.
Right.
And so he would have a bunch of girls messaging him all the time. And he would be like, what do you want me to do? Like, I can't help that I'm so desirable. And I'm like, I don't get it. I'm confused because like no one's talking to me.
Right.
Which in my head made me feel like he must be so far out of my league that like I'm so lucky to have him.
Yes.
And so then I would feel like I needed to compete with these other people to keep his attention.
Yes.
And so
for me, it was almost a game as well.
Yes.
Like, I want to win.
Yes.
I have to be and I didn't even want the prize anymore.
I just want to win. But I would wear these outfits that I felt were either like similar to the girls who were contacting him or something that was quote unquote like revealing to like show what I felt confident about. Yeah. And then he would tell me that I was being a slut or that I like shouldn't wear that because who am I trying to impress? Am I trying to cheat on him? Am I trying to like why would I wear these things? And so then I would only wear like his clothes.
Oh, I remember that.
And like sweatpants and stuff. Like when I met Shane, I was only wearing my boyfriend's clothes at the time.
I remember that.
And he was like an double XL and I was a small. Like I don't care what your sizes are, but I'm just saying like I was swimming in these clothes and I was intentionally doing everything that I could not to get anyone else's attention because I didn't want to upset him. Yep. And Shane and I talk about this all the time, but there was a moment where we were in the lounge, me, my boyfriend, and Shane was playing music for us. And whenever Shane left, I almost said his name, looked at me and he was like, you like him. You like him, don't you? And I was like, he's like my brother. And at that point in time, he truly was. Yeah. I had like blinders onto everything because I was so hyper aware of people. I was scared to give him any indication that I was
even remotely friendly with the person.
Yes. And turns out he was right.
Yeah.
I end up
I'm gonna have babies with my brother. It's gonna be fine. Here's where the dangers come from. I mean, aside from
everything else.
Yeah. But excuse me. A common side effect of experiencing abusive behavior is the overproduction of cortisol, which we talked about before, is the stress hormone. It's nature's very own built-in alarm to be like, whoa, this is not right. Fight or flight type of thing. It provides us with energy when we're faced with stress. But too much of it can damage our immune system and make us more likely to pick up an illness, become more anxious, create high blood pressure. When I got diagnosed with Crohn's, I had the worst flare I've ever had. It sent me to the hospital, and it was during this time. I hardly ever have them anymore. Yeah. It's very rare. Yep. I don't have migraines. I was having seizures, which they told me were stress induced. I was just a sickly person all the time. And now I know it's because I was living in constant fear. That cortisol was in my body constantly because I was in straight up survival mode, walking on eggshells all the time. And my immune system was shot to shit. Yep. Like, terrible. So let's talk about now the 7 stages.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Do we need a break?
No, I'm okay. I just it's reminding me, it's weird. I think we've talked about this before. It's weird to be on such a steady place after you have experienced highs and lows for an extended amount of time, because it feels like life is supposed to be a roller coaster. It feels like you're supposed to have high highs and low lows. And that's why I think I get triggered when I see people make posts about their relationships and they say things like, we fight like cats and dogs, and sometimes you make me so angry, and we've hurt each other, but we at our core we love each other. And it's like,
it's not supposed to be like that.
No, it's not supposed to be like that. Do I fight with Shane? Yeah. Yes. Of course I do.
Not like cats and dogs.
Not at all like what I used to experience.
I have a home right now with dogs and a cat in it. Let me tell you, if it was ever like that, I would not be in it.
Right. But I mean, we were though. And like it felt like we were, and I think part of it is because of what we saw on TV and like other relationships we've seen in our life. Yep. And so when I would have these moments where I was crying myself to sleep all the time, or I felt so lonely or so confused or so just like emotionally drained, but then like I was high when it was good, it feels weird to just be steady.
Plateau. Yeah. Well, that was the first thing. I kept pushing Corey away in the beginning because I was like, this is giving me nothing. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't that it was giving me nothing. It was just that,
it was giving you security.
It was, hold on. I'm actually going to talk about love bombing right now. So this is so what is love bombing? Love bombing is when you are getting showered with love, affection, attention, validation. It's used to draw you in. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes they seem too perfect to be true, and the beginning of the relationship is literally almost fairy tale like. They dote on you. You feel utterly adored and cared for. The abundance of love and affection you receive in this love bombing stage is like nothing you've ever received before. So here's the thing with these people, abusers, a lot of times they know that what they're doing is too much, but they do it anyways. Mm-hmm. Like normal people don't give you all of themselves right away. There's sometimes like you have to keep a wall up a little bit for yourself. Not abusers. Yep. They want to give you everything because they want you to need them. Yeah. To need that
I think that's why I got sucked
that you're releasing
in so badly to because my abuser was my first boyfriend ever. My first boyfriend ever. And he's also the person I lost my virginity to. So like I had both of those things. Yep. To
gluing you to this person.
Bonding me to him. But because it was so full on and so intense, and when it was good, it was like a lot, fucking lot, like showering me with so many expensive gifts.
Same.
And books of text messages and all of these social media posts. Like there was all of these things.
Yeah. Like you are my world.
Yes. And then when there was a guy that I dated just like briefly before Shane, and he didn't do any of that.
Neither did Corey. Can you imagine Corey doing any of that?
No.
He would never.
Shane's never even on social media. But like
neither is Corey.
When I was dating this guy before Shane, I would hang out with him occasionally. We'd talk occasionally, but I broke it off with him because I felt rejected. I felt like he didn't like me because he was so just like gradual.
That was literally with Corey. I ignored him like 3 times because I thought in the beginning of this thing, you're supposed to text and like, my abuser told me he loved me like straight off the friggin' bat. Like without even, I mean, we might have hung out like 2 or 3 times, but it was like, boom, I love you. I want to spend my life with you. I want to introduce you to my mom. Like third date.
Yes.
Kind of situation. And Corey was very much like, hey, what's up? Yeah, I'm at work. You know what I mean? Yep. Texting was very like, mwah. Just trying to get to know you, which is a normal thing. Yes. But to me, I'm like, why is he not obsessed with me asking for pictures 24/7, blah, blah, blah. Like, he was not like that at all. He's not trying to hang out with me all the time. So then when he did, I was like, no, you don't even freaking care.
Why isn't he texting me, calling me Mrs. his last name?
Yes.
All the time.
Why am I not waking up to good morning texts constantly or full paragraphs about how he couldn't sleep last night?
Bouquets of flowers at my door.
Yes.
Whenever I broke it off with this guy, and I was like, hey, I think we should just be friends. Like, I don't want to ruin our friendship. I found out he was like shocked
Yeah.
that this happened. He was like blindsided because he's like, I thought everything was going fine. But in my head, I'm like, you've not proposed after a week? This is over for me.
That's the other thing. My abuser proposed without a ring 4 times.
Mine too.
4 times.
We were secretly engaged.
Me too. I was making lists of my bridesmaids and stuff because when it was good, that's what we did.
I was remodeling the house I was going to move into after I dropped out of college for him. Oh my God.
Isn't it ridiculous?
Yes.
Ugh. But
I was living in a soap opera.
Yeah, same. And it was exciting for me, and that's why I stayed in it.
Now I'd be exhausted.
Oh my God. For me now, when I see people that are like, they show like, look at my new boyfriend, and they'll put up a text, isn't this so cute? Mm-hmm. I hate that I'm like this, and I hope that it's for some people it's not, but for me, I'm like, red fucking flag.
Well, because that's a trauma response for you. It's like that's triggering.
I'm like, that is love bombing.
Yep.
That is
and not always. Not always. Because Shayna sent me beautiful, beautiful text messages.
So has Corey.
That I screenshot. But
Corey, I remember one time I said something about, I had a dream about you last night. This was before we even had our first date. And he said it as a joke, but I said, I had a dream about you last night. And he was like, write it down and we'll put it in a book and read it when we're 50.
Oh.
And I was like, come on.
Did you?
No.
Oh, you were like, I'm not going to know you when I'm 50.
I did screenshot that message. Okay. So I'm like, I'll keep that message at least.
Yeah.
But you know me, I'm always like, I'll write something down. I wanted to start a pregnancy journal. I just wrote one entry in it the other day. I'm fucking almost ready to have her.
Yeah. What are you going to do?
Yeah. Okay. So after this person declares their love, obsession, affection in the early stages, a lot of times they will pick someone. These people are good at preying upon people who are naturally empathetic, who are trusting, who are emotionally insecure, who have some kind of dependency issues. Like they're very good at seeing that. When I met my abuser, it was right after Noah's dad and I split up. And I was in a super low place. Number one, I had a baby at a very young age. So a lot of people around my age were still like going to college. They looked their best self. I felt like I didn't. I had just had a child. And
you have always been insecure about the way that you looked.
Very much so.
And also how you compared to other people our age. Not just physically, but just like overall.
Yes. So when he swooped in, I had all of these and was telling me I was the most beautiful person he's ever seen, the funniest, blah, 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 like all of these things. I was like, you're a bartender. You see beautiful women all the time. And I'm what caught your eye. Yeah. Like,
I remember we were in my bedroom.
I messaged him.
I know.
Damn it. But it was because he was showing me attention all night.
You were like, look at what he's saying. And I was like, wow.
I'm going to shoot my shot because he's got all of these girls hitting on him. And again, that was a competition thing. He had all of these girls hitting on him. And I was feeling froggy because I was drinking. And I was like, I'm going to see if he...
I encouraged it too.
Well, I know because
I was like, he's funny. I think you guys would like go so well together. I think your personalities really complement each other.
We knew him forever. I didn't know this other side of him.
Me neither.
That's the thing too with abusers is, man, do they hide it so fucking well. Like they are good at tricking their victims and they are good at tricking the world into thinking that they are this good person.
I know someone who people would be shocked to find out the things that he did.
Yeah.
Because he was like in charge of I don't want to get too specific. He had a very good job.
Yeah.
No one would guess that this person had done the things that he did.
Yeah.
And he was very wealthy. That's the thing too, is like you can't think that
this person's going to look like a certain mold.
Yes.
Because they don't.
Right.
That brings us into stage 2, which is trust and dependency. You begin to trust that they will love you unconditionally, always, and now you are dependent on them for validation because they are the only ones really giving it to you that much. This abundance of love bombing gains your trust, and then you develop this dependency out of that. Healthy love and a healthy dependency are part of all nurturing relationships. That's good. But the kind of dependency that this person will manifest is going to be super unhealthy You trust them so much that their opinion becomes the only source of validation that you care about. And this leads us into the next stage,
Right.
which is one of the most harmful, I think.
I think that part that you just read too can be an indicator for unhealthy relationships with family members as well. Because if you seek approval so desperately from your parents, it can be an indication that you have an unhealthy relationship with them, have trauma bonded with them.
Especially if this next stage comes in, and the next stage is called the criticism stage. So the person will gradually reduce the amount of care and validation that they once gave you. They start to criticize you and place heavy blame on you for things you have no control over and things that you've been doing this entire time, but now all of a sudden
not good enough,
and you're at fault for some reason for it
because they expected more.
Yes, the demanding side starts to come out. This stage,
you didn't know they expected more, until you're already in trouble.
Because you have been doing fine. They've been loving everything about you. And realistically, you haven't changed. But in your mind, you're thinking, well, goddamn, what am I doing wrong now?
Right.
Like, this also, if you haven't listened, please go back and listen to our gaslighting episode. Because this is where gaslighting happens. This is where a lot of that emotional manipulation starts to take place, where you start feeling crazy because you're like, what the fuck am I doing wrong?
Yeah. I thought I knew.
Yeah. I thought this was going so well. Before this, your abuser was a sturdy source of support and comfort, and now they're pulling away from you emotionally, and you can feel it. Sometimes they'll do it intentionally, and other times it's like a gut feeling. That feeling fucking sucks.
Especially if they are your main source of validation and you don't know when you're going to get that validation again, and that's the only thing that's keeping you from drowning, and it pulls away.
You panic.
Yeah, which is why we push for intrinsic motivation so hard. It's why we talk about self-love so much, is because we don't ever want someone to be able to take that, the way you love yourself and the way you view yourself, away from you.
Yes. Because what makes this even more painful is that the criticism, nasty comments, and blame that they heap on you is so foreign, and your spouse is always, or partner, or parents, anything, has always been so good to you that you believe what they're saying has to be true.
Yes.
Because why else would they say this? This person who loves you so much, who is your person, your best friend. Like, when I talk about my abuser now, back in that time, he was my best fucking friend.
Yeah.
Like, I trusted him with everything. I told him everything. And in that, I know now that I was giving him fuel because I was telling him all the things that made me insecure. And he was doing it so subtly at first that I didn't even realize, by comparing me to these women who were younger than me, smarter than me in college, or funnier than me, or all of these things. And like, by just slightly comparing them to me, it was driving me to a point of like self-loathing that I had never been to before. Ever.
That was one of the things when Barbara had told me that I had experienced emotional abuse. I didn't know what it was. I had never heard of it before. So I looked it up, and one of the symptoms is you question reality. You have been told so many times that you are something that you believe. Like, I was told so many times that I was like a bad person, or an angry person, or a controlling person, or an aggressive person, that I thought that that's truly who I was. And so whenever I tried to believe that I was a good person, or would work on my managing my emotions, I would always go back to, well, I'm never going to be able to manage them because I am explosive, because I'm controlling, because I'm XYZ.
Yeah. I told him about how I had been dealing with anxiety and especially depression. And so it became, you're not a fit mother because you're depressed. Don't let anybody know. Sierra, don't let anybody know. They're going to take your child away from you. If they knew how much you slept during the day, they're going to take your child away from you. It was constant. So he wasn't calling me a bad mom, but he was saying, like, your mental health, he was
planting seeds for you to figure out that
be like, oh my God, you're right. And in that way, I thought, he can't leave because I can't be alone with my son.
Right.
I have a problem. It's not true. I was a fucking great mom after he was gone. Thank you. I blossomed.
It makes so much sense. So now that you say that, I was unaware of that.
Yeah.
But
so while I'm reading, these things are like coming back to me. Yeah. But yes, go on.
Whenever I was still teaching whenever I had Ollie, and I went back to school for like 3 months before I took my sabbatical and then left teaching, Sierra watched Ollie for me. And we had a really intense conversation right before we started the podcast where I asked her if she ever forgave me for something that I had done. And she was like, of course, I understand why you did that.
Yeah.
I thought you thought I was a bad mother, and you asking me to watch Ollie, I realized you didn't think I was a bad mom. And I'm like, I never.
That I knew that you did it.
I never thought you were a bad mom.
He had it planted in my head that everybody thought that I was a bad mom because of my mental health issues.
No.
That everybody was secretly talking about how I couldn't do it on my own financially because I wouldn't be able to afford food. Food stamps exist.
Yeah. And there's no shame in it.
And there is absolutely no shame in it. But, you know, because I couldn't find people to watch him, or I'm not the most organized person. Hello again, undiagnosed ADHD. But things like that, he would always be like, see, this is why you can't be alone. See, Sierra, you can't be alone with him because look at what you just did here. You forgot about this super important thing that you were supposed to do with him. And like, what's going to happen next time I'm not here to remind you?
But if you're constantly feeling like you're never capable of it, are you ever going to even feel confident enough to try?
What exactly?
Yeah.
Which I did eventually.
This guy sucks. I hate him so much.
So bad. I hate him so much. So stage 3 melts directly into stage 4, which is gaslighting, which I just talked about.
Fair
Again,
enough.
Go back and listen. But here, if you don't want to, here's a little snippet. There's so much, though, on gaslighting, which is why I encourage you to listen to the whole thing. But the narcissist will tell you that their unhappiness is all your fault. If you would only do exactly as they say, the way that they want it, then they could love you the way that they used to. They'll aim to make you doubt your own perception of reality, and they want you to accept their interpretation of what reality really is. Things like, I didn't say that. You always make up things. You've got it wrong. That didn't even happen. You definitely told me that. Despite you knowing the exact truth of the situation, is gaslighting. For me, almost every single time physical abuse happened, we were both drinking. That fueled that even more because he would be like, I would mention it the next day and he would be like, are you insane? You're drunk. Like, that didn't happen. You did fall. That was your fault.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't always that drunk. But then I was like, fuck, maybe, what if I was, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't fully remember if it was the way that I remembered it. And then I started to feel crazy. Like, maybe he's right. Nobody ever witnessed it.
Yeah.
Except until the one time that they did.
Yeah.
And I knew I wasn't crazy. And I'm like, but to this day, if anybody asked him, he would say that didn't happen. There are witnesses that saw it happen. And he will still say that it didn't happen, that I'm being dramatic, that it didn't happen like that. I went to the hospital and had a broken nose. It was x-rayed. It is documented.
Yeah.
Didn't happen.
See, and it's difficult too because having the mental health disorders that we have severely impacts our memory.
Yes.
And so I feel like at times people can use that as well. Like if there's going to be a bonus episode coming out with my sister. And during that episode, she told me about a really horrible thing that I had done to her. And so like, I know that there are things that I have done that I don't remember. I know that I have blocked them out. I know that there's been things done to me that I don't remember. But it's difficult. And I think sometimes people can use the fact that we struggle with memory loss against us to invalidate our very real experiences.
Exactly. And on the flip side of that exactly is why I have forgiven him so many times. Because when I talk about Jekyll and Hyde, in those moments that the abuse was occurring, I would look into his face and he was not the person that I saw every single day, the person that was my best friend. The way he looked at me was like, also a lot of times he was like blackout drunk. That didn't help. But the way that he looked at me was like he hated me.
Yeah.
Like he would have killed me if that were possible. And I was like, I don't know who you are. Your eyes are black. Like he became this person that I have never seen before and I didn't want to see again. But at the time, I used that to excuse it because I was like, it wasn't him. It was this person that took over. So a lot of times when the part would come back, which I think this is, hold on, stage 5, control is set. You feel like your only chance of getting back to happy, comforting feelings is to stage 1. You do things their way. But that this is a lot of times the love bombing cycles through almost all of these stages. So when they know that they're losing their grip, the love bombing will start again. And then you're like, oh, shit. Here you go. You're right. Oh, you're back. So every time that physical abuse happened for me or I found him cheating, this love bombing would occur, and it got grander and grander every time. And he would make me more and more. Well, yeah, because he knew I did leave several times. I left and stayed other places and was like getting my stuff out.
I'm having a hard time breathing. So if I keep like turning away, for those watching, if I keep turning away from the camera like every 5 seconds, it's because I have to listen to this and I hear myself breathing heavy. So I'm trying to like breathe off of the microphone and I'm having a panic attack. So it's very hard to breathe. So I'm like,
I did have an acid reflux burp into the mic. I tried to get
it's in my head.
I tried to get away from it.
Everything's fine.
But it came up so fast. So I was like, so if you hear that, apologies. Anyways, that love bombing, when you do what they say or whatever, so when you don't leave, like I did, they'll dangle that in front of you. I remember the last time he said, I won't drink anymore. That is my promise to you. I will not drink it. He went 9 months, truly, without drinking. And then the very next time that he drank so much that he broke my nose that night. And amongst other things that, whatever. But for me, I was like, God damn, it was for 9 months the love bombing happened again. And he was doting on me. He bought me, oh my God, did he buy me things? Yeah. Financially, I was like pretty much dependent on him. He was buying everything for me, paying for all my bills. He knew I hated my job and he used that to his advantage a lot because he would be like, just call off.
Yep.
Spend the day with me. I'll take you out and we'll do these things that he knew I wanted to do. I'll pay your bills for this month. Don't worry about it. Take it off. Well, for me, I was like, fucking yeah, because I would rather hang out with you. At that point, we were so good that sounded amazing to me.
And you got such horrible panic attacks going to work that you were like, I don't want to go there anyway. Yes. If I now have this insurance that I'm going to have everything covered financially, I won't go.
Yep. But then
what an escape, but it was a trap.
Yeah, because then every single time I wanted to leave, I knew I couldn't because he had me. Financially, he had me.
Mine tried to use that as well. He used money to try to get me to leave college. Like, you don't even need to work. Look at this job that I have. Yes. I have a home for us. I have all of this stuff. I will pay for everything. Yep. And I was like, sounds good to me.
That sounds perfect. No, it wasn't, because they use that as control. And then it's like, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing this? I come home, the least you could have is fucking dinner ready and the dishes. I've been working all day. You're paying all your bills, blah, blah, blah.
He tried to get my friends from college to like him so much that he left a 60-inch television in our dorm room lounge. He left it there. And every time he would come up, he'd buy everyone pizza. He would supply them with weed, which at the time, I had never even seen weed before. I had always said I never wanted to date someone who smoked weed. I was raised very strict Catholic, so I never even wanted someone who smoked a cigarette. Meanwhile, Shane was all the time. He doesn't anymore. But whenever I found out, they were like, "Oh, you don't think he smokes weed? He supplies it for everyone." And I was like, "He does?" He's like, "Yeah, he's got a bottomless canister." And I'm like, "Who is this person?"
Yep.
Same. Who is this person?
I thought mine was selling harder drugs than that, and I was like, "What?"
There's a whole different life, and so you're like, who are you? Yes.
Literally, that would, when I found out about that, I was like, who the fuck are you?
Whenever, and I think I've told this before, whenever we had one of our last big blowouts, and the police got called to my dorm room, well, it was campus cops, but they threatened to call the real police because he wouldn't open the door.
Yeah.
He was texting Drew's mom, in quotes, which Drew's mom was dead.
Oh my God.
He was actually texting Drew's sister. And I was like, you were texting some nasty things to Drew's mom. And I remember he wouldn't let me out of the dorm room. And he kept saying, you're not going to make them hate me like you've made everyone else hate me. You're not going to turn them on me. I'm like, I didn't turn anyone on you. You being exactly who you are has made people
hate you.
Yeah, they've developed their own conclusions of you. And if they don't like what they see, that's not my fault.
And truly, the reason why I have kept quiet for as long as I have is because I I was afraid that I would make people hate him. Guess what? It's not my fucking responsibility.
Right.
You did it.
Right.
All I'm saying is the truth. And if you're not happy with what happens because people know the truth, that's not my fucking fault.
Right.
You did it.
Right.
So take accountability for your actions, apologize, move on, whatever the fuck you have to do.
Get
but
help.
It is not my responsibility to save your ass anymore.
Right.
And I'm not going to do it.
Right.
I'm not going to be quiet.
Not at the expense of yourself. No.
Hell no. Hell no. Because stage 6 is loss of self. Things get worse, not better, and you resign yourself to just accepting the abuse. Should you fight back, that will intensify their abuse. Stage 6 is where you are entirely confused, miserable, and your self-esteem is at an all-time low. I call this stage the Eggshell Stage. This was the stage where I felt like I was constantly walking on eggshells, doing everything. I couldn't go to someone's house because I was afraid that he was going to find out, and that would for some reason make him mad, even though he was friends with this person too.
Yeah.
I couldn't wear I don't know, certain things, certain places. I couldn't go to my mom's house because he knew that my mom had supplied me with shelter last time.
Yep.
And if he found out that I was talking to my mom, he was going to be really mad. In this point, you basically become a shell of a human being.
I was going to say, how many times have I told you when it got to that point that I didn't know who you were?
No,
like
I didn't
it
know
was
who I was.
weird to be around you because it was like you were acting. And that was one of the things I said to you with Corey when you and Corey came to our house and we played like card games and stuff and we went out to dinner. Yeah. I didn't realize that was the first time I had met him before, but like it was my first time interacting with you guys
as my boyfriend. Yeah.
But I remember saying to you, like, I've never experienced you with a guy so yourself.
Yes.
You were you again. And I was like, it just felt really good to feel like I knew you were yourself and you were happy and then I had my best friend back. Yeah. And like that you felt safe enough to be who you were.
Yeah.
And that who you were was enough and was beautiful and deserving of love. And that was just really special.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Damn it. No, but truly, for the longest time, I felt like I had to be an actress. I felt like I had to be what they wanted me to be. Because if I wasn't, then they were leaving or hurting me.
Right.
And so at that point, I didn't realize until people say things who had known me my whole life, but they're like, you were not you.
You were a stranger to me.
No, and I'm embarrassed when I look back at the person that I was. But it's fine.
You should be proud of her.
I am proud.
Because she's a fucking survivor.
And she got the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
She was so good at pretending that she was able to get away and get away safely. And I'm proud of her for doing that because
you should be.
That was the only reason I did it. I did it to survive.
A round of applause. A round of applause.
For my
and an Academy Award.
I could be a good actress. But it's sad because the people that you guys see, that you guys love, she was not there. I couldn't be funny because I wasn't allowed to be funnier than him.
Right.
You can be funny around my friends, but don't be funnier than me because I have to be the funny guy.
Right.
I have to be the charming guy. I wasn't allowed to dress the way that I wanted to, things like that. Like I felt like I couldn't be politically who I really am, like, because if I said certain things, he was like, that's stupid, blah, blah. I mean, he cut down on things that I truly believed in, and when I say politically, what I really mean is like human rights kind of things
that get politicized for no reason.
Yes, fucking A. So basically, at this stage, you feel like you're an emotional corpse. You feel like you're dead inside. Comparing to the person who at stage 1 to the person at stage 6 is night and day.
Yeah.
Completely different people. Your dreams, your hopes, your goals, your desires all become mute at this point. I remember people being like, what do you want to do after? Because I know you don't want to serve. And I was just like, at that point, I truly was just focused on surviving.
Yeah, you can't think about anytime in the future because you're not sure if you're going to make it past tonight.
Yes.
You know?
I was like, I just want to be happy. That was my goal. I couldn't say that to people because they were like, I thought you were happy. I was really good at faking it.
Yeah.
But, the only thing
because you had to, because if you gave anyone any indication that you weren't happy, it was a reflection on him, and then he was going to get mad, and then you would get hurt. So you had to be happy, quote
I had
unquote.
to pretend that everything was perfect with us.
Right.
Anytime he got me anything, I had to post it on Facebook immediately. And gosh, oh my goodness.
I can think of so many posts that I remember reading and being like, girl.
I know. He made me do it.
I
And
know.
it's embarrassing when I see them now.
Oh, me too.
I'm like, oh my God, I'm gushing because he made me mashed potatoes. Like, you put them in the microwave.
The irony of today on my time hop, I had made a post on Facebook
I have
like
one on
so
mine on
long
my
ago
time hop.
that says so-and-so cheats at air hockey. And I remember you screenshotting it and sending it to me and going, yeah, that's not the only thing he cheats at.
And then Karma was like, now you're going to get cheated on for a lot of years.
Yeah. Oh, funny joke.
And I was like, that's fair. I also want to say that too, because I'm talking a lot about the physical abuse because it is what stuck with me the longest. But at that moment, the emotional abuse that happened with the cheating was really what made me this person.
And emotional abuse can be just as damaging as physical abuse.
Sometimes I think it's worse because this loss of self was purely
emotional.
It was not because of the physical abuse. That was all. It healed. This did not heal.
Right.
Like, I felt constantly like I wasn't good enough. Like I wasn't smart enough. I mean, I'll say that 100 times, but it's truly because he made me feel like I was nothing compared to these other girls.
Yeah.
Which is because I'm the fucking shit. So
yeah, you are.
What's up? Stage 7 is addiction. Your family and friends are concerned about you. You feel terrible about the situation, but you can't leave because your abuser is now everything to you. All you can think about is winning back their affection and validation. So
to me, I had to, because if I didn't, then everyone was, then everyone was right.
And there's a pride factor to it.
Mm-hmm.
There really is a pride.
And it meant that I was a failure.
Yes.
Because I
didn't want to be a liar. Mm-hmm. I didn't want people to be right about me. Mm-hmm. And I was too proud to be like, no, I need help.
I could fix it. Yeah. I can make it better. This is just a rough patch. Like, I will figure it out.
There's a big part in this where it says that a lot of victims are people who think they can fix the person that they're with. And if that's what you're thinking right now, if all of this is, you're hearing this, you cannot fix them.
It's not your job.
No, and no amount of
not at the expense of yourself.
No, you don't deserve it, and they don't deserve it. Honestly, let him be a piece of shit. That's what I had to do. I see things. People send me things, and they're like, "Did you see what he's doing on social media?" And it's embarrassing, first of all, but second of all, I'm just like, that's not my problem anymore. Yeah, that's not my problem. I don't care if he's making himself look bad. I don't care if he's making other people feel bad. I mean, I do. Yeah. But like, I can't do anything about it. That's just who he's going to be. And
his success is not my success. His fail is not my fail.
Nope.
Like, I cannot be responsible or connected to any of it.
Yeah.
And that was something that was really hard for me. He was supposed to go to the same college as me. He got in because I filled out his application. And I did his homework, and I got him to graduate. Like, yeah. But he blamed me. Yeah. He ended up not going. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. Yeah. I don't remember why. But he ended up not going. And then he blamed me for him not going. Mm. And now I was responsible for the fact that he didn't go to college. And so, like, if he was unsuccessful, ultimately it was my fault. Right. And so I had to make sure that he was successful, because that meant I didn't fail him. And it's like, why the fuck am I responsible for whether this ship sinks or swims? Exactly. While I am drowning.
Yes. There were so many moments like that for us, but just in like social aspects. It was like, if we went out and he wasn't the center of attention because people were talking to me, because guess what, guys? I'm kind of a likable person.
I'm a fucking delight.
But if that happened, he would be furious. Like when we got home, that it wasn't attention on him on it, and then he had to berate me because it was like, no, I have to put you back down here. Yep. Because people had fun with me. Yep. It's just fucking bizarre. But that's the thing too. It wasn't always like that. There were times when we went out and he was fucking great. When he was sober for all those months, he was my DD freaking everywhere. And I felt so bad because I was like, this person has a legit problem with drinking alcohol. And here he is offering to DD me and my friends everywhere we wanted to go. That love bombing, man, there was so much of it where Still to this day, I feel bad talking badly about him.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, but what about all those things he did?
Mm-hmm.
That's fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
God, this is, you're seeing it in real time right now, but I
Yeah.
want you guys to see that, like, I've been gone for 4 years. And before that, we were just like in each other's lives, but we hadn't dated for probably 5 years.
Right.
For that last whole year, we were not quote unquote dating, but we were still in each other's lives very heavily. And I relied on him for a place to stay.
Yeah.
So, he, like,
Oh, sorry, your feet.
what did you guys think about those? Surprise.
Sorry.
He'd never make an appearance.
Let your feetsies go out. Sorry.
That's okay. But he also, the reason I felt so guilty when I broke it off was that he wouldn't just love bomb me. Like you said,
Yep.
he would love bomb my son.
Mm-hmm.
He would buy Noah. Oh my God, did he buy him so many things? And so when I left, Noah was devastated.
Yeah.
And that was hard for me because I didn't know how to explain that this person was a good person to you, but not a good person to me. And that's eventually how I
Right.
explained it. Like, I know that he loved you. I know that you loved him, but he was not a nice person to mommy. And mommy doesn't deserve that.
Right.
Noah was also 5 when it happened. So it was hard to
Right.
explain that to him. And I was supposed to be lying to him.
Yeah.
So what was I to do? He went to a farm. I'm sorry. But he would do the same thing to my family members. Like, I remember giving him a second chance because he wrote letters to my mom and my dad apologizing, and my sister, I'm so sorry. And it was always
I love her more than anything.
I know I messed up. And he would. In those moments, he would admit that he was the one at fault. But only in those moments.
You know who he never said a damn word to?
I know. And isn't that funny? It's almost like he could tell that you could smell through the bullshit.
He never said a fucking word to me.
No, I think he was intimidated by you, which is
I hope so.
Because ever since we've been hanging out a lot, he he has never tried to contact me really anyways.
Yeah.
But like, he doesn't really.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of just coexist.
Yeah.
In the same place, which is kind of terrible, but whatever. No, I don't think that he's a bad. I'm struggling here because as much as I want to say I think he's a bad person,
He was a bad person to you?
he was, but I don't want people to hate him because I hope that he does well. I truly do.
I hope he gets better.
That's what I hope.
And I hope he doesn't hurt anyone
I
else.
agree. So do I.
And if people draw their own conclusions, they can draw their own conclusions.
For sure.
That's not your responsibility to bear.
Yeah. At this stage,
Never.
it's highly probable that you're cut off from your family and friends, but that doesn't stop you from feeling awful about not being able to see them. Even if it was your choice to cut them off, it's likely that it was your abuser that was the driving force behind your choice. You may miss your family, friends, and the life you left behind, and the guilt and shame you feel about it can be all-consuming at times.
Mm-hmm.
But this is what the abuser has strived for. This point is what they wanted all along. Your addiction to them. This means they have power and control that they strive for, and they know pretty much nothing and nobody can take you away from them. Also, they can pretty much do whatever they want at this point because you have nowhere to go and no one to turn to. They can hurt you, lie, cheat. They can be insanely toxic, and you'll still stick around and endure it because you have no other choices at this point. So this is where their goal has been achieved. You may be asking yourself, how is it possible that this can happen to you? I'm a sane, logical, intelligent, and functional person. I used to say that all the fucking time. Well, I'm smart. Why would this happen to me?
I remember whenever the glass bowl incident happened, I remember saying to Shane, we would make fun of people for making up these stories.
Yes.
I feel terrible that I ever mocked anyone for that situation.
Again,
but I was like,
say that just because I know that there are still people to do it, and I want to be like, you can change your mind. It's not too late.
Yes.
We thought the same thing. Until you're fucking in it, you don't realize, you think, how dumb this person is. That this person is actively hurting them and they're covering up for them. They're smarter than this.
Yes.
But here's the thing.
It has nothing to do with how intelligent you are.
No. It comes from understanding the core of the dynamics of how we humans react to the combination of dependency and abuse, coupled with something that's called intermittent reinforcement, which we'll probably talk about on the next
Yeah, we're
episode.
we've just decided this has to be a part 2.
Yeah, because there's
A 2-parter.
still so much to
Yes.
go. So please tune in for the next one. But in
Which we will be covering accepting.
intermittent reinforcement, which is a little bit more of the science behind it. But then also we're going to be covering the 5 stages of accepting that you're in one, and then how to get out.
How to get out.
Hopefully.
So that's on part 2 that's coming out next week.
Yes. Okay.
So
I'm sorry that was heavy. I hope it helped. At least if you feel like you're in it, if you feel like here's the thing too, even if you're not in it, I feel like we all know somebody.
yeah. I hope you were able to validate yourself if this was something you believed you could potentially be struggling with, but you felt like it's not that bad. Because that was always the thing that I would tell myself is it's not that bad.
Well,
I would compare it to the worst situation. Yeah.
I literally didn't think. I was like, he doesn't hit me. Sure, he shoves me around a little bit. And that was the thing. He never closed fist punched me.
Yeah.
So to me, I was like, I'm not getting abused.
Right.
He doesn't punch me in the face. But I was being sent to the hospital every friggin' other month.
Well, and whenever I would talk about my abuse, because I was never hit, was I pushed? Yeah.
Yes.
Was I grabbed in a way that I shouldn't have been grabbed? Yeah. Was things punched near my body to strike fear in me? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Was a lot of it verbal and emotional? Yeah. So like I felt like because it wasn't closed fist, whatever, because I was never sent to the hospital, because XYZ, I invalidated my experience and that I didn't have the right to say it. One day, he lives near me. Walked past his house and there was a stray dog out. It was a puppy and I didn't know what to do. And this puppy was like running around and I knocked on their door. I knew he wasn't home.
Okay.
And I have seen his partner out before and her and I have like waved to each other because our kids talk.
Yeah.
I don't think she knows who I am, but like our kids, because kids don't know any better. They're like, hi.
Yep.
So I knocked on the door because it came from their yard. I wanted to be like, is this your dog? And I was telling my friend like, oh my God, that was so terrible. Like it was so uncomfortable. I didn't know what to do. And she was like, can we not breeze past the fact that you had to knock on your abuser's door? Yeah. And I sat there like, oh my God. No one has ever said that to me. Like no one has ever addressed him as my abuser before and like validated me in that way. And that was triggering for me in a way that like I didn't realize.
Well, even my heart started beating fast when you were saying that, and I was like, you fucking went up to his door. Jeez.
I didn't know what to do.
Today I was at We Love Pets because I love my
because
pets.
We love pets.
Yeah. And I saw a person whose profile the side view of them looked exactly like him. And I swear, I went and hid in an aisle and like was waiting until they came out to see if it was him. It wasn't. Yeah. But I was like, I'm a 30-year-old woman and I'm pregnant. Yeah. And I'm sitting here hiding because I'm afraid. Yep. Like, what is he going to do to me in the store? But just the thought of seeing him scared the shit out of me.
Yep. Well. Like we said, we hope this validated you guys in a way or allowed you to maybe move toward acceptance.
And if you're someone who's not in one, but you know somebody who is, I hope that this gave you a little bit of understanding and perspective, because I know a lot of times it's easy to be the friend that's like, what are you doing? You're being dumb. This isn't who you are. Right. And just know that like this isn't who they are. And there's a reason behind it. And it might take time, but if you can offer resources or just this even, get him this book, have him read it. Yeah. So
thank you guys.
Listen to our episode.
Yeah, or that. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. We will put out part 2. Sorry that this is a part 2. We don't normally do that, but we've already seen that this is a very long episode and this is really important. We didn't want to shorten it in any way. So part 2 will be coming out next week. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We love you so much. We will see you next week.
That's the add-on.
Trauma bonding?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
We're out.
Goodbye.